So tell us a little bit more about your analogy of the forest and how that works.
There's this wonderful new branch of ecological theory called resilience theory, and it looks at what natural systems need in order to be healthy and resilient after they receive a shock, for example, during climate change. And what the scientists found was that it was not the trees that control the forest, but instead that the superorganism of the forest is actually controlling what happens in the forest. So it's the forest itself that decides what trees and what organisms can live there. Now, the analogy I draw is to our own human society and our own human stories. What we see in the cycle of news is the quick, short cycle, like the leaf cycle. Then when you expand up to something like a legislative era, like the Thatcher era, you've got something more like the tree, more a generational cycle, or maybe a couple of generations. And then at the forest level, at the very long-lived level, you have a societal story. And for a long time it was the religious story, say the Christian story in the Middle Ages. That then changed with the Renaissance and the Enlightenment. And now what we have is the story of neoliberal economics. And it's that story which our society holds very tight to that says something is either possible or not possible. And all of the ecological things that we'd like to see, all of the benefits, the future generational benefits, are not in our story now. And that's why I'm saying that story itself needs to change.
So if the story needs to change, where do you see the forest in 50, 100 years' time?
Well, what I would like to see is precisely intergenerational rights respected and made as enforceable legal rights. If you had that as a measure, then governments would have to make fundamentally different decisions. So that, for example, we wouldn't right now be building a whole new fleet of coal-fired power stations all over the world. That's the worst thing we can do if we want to be handing over a good biosphere to future generations.
And your charter will mean that that is built into the decision-making process at government level?
Ultimately, yes. Yes. If it's recognized, then the decision-making process will have to take care of it, because if it becomes legal rights, then young people, anyone, can enforce those rights against governments who misbehave.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.